So welcome everyone to our webinar today from Learner to Contributor, Navigating the ACRL Framework Sandbox. Go ahead and we're glad you're all here today, and we're going to hopefully have a fun, active, and fairly quick session so that folks can get familiar with the sandbox and have a chance to upload some content if they would like. Before we jump into the content, though, we did want to take a second to just check in with everyone to see how you all are feeling today. So we have some different options up here: sleepy sloth, curious cat, busy beaver, annoyed antelope, happy foe, or maybe hungry hippo. So we would love to hear how you're doing today. If you just wanted to pick one category and let us know in the chat how you're feeling today.
We have a lot of curious cats, a few sleepy sloths like myself, some busy beavers, and a few people who are crosses in between. Oh, and a few people who are saying they were lucky enough to get their vaccines recently, although maybe not feeling so great because of that. But we're excited for you to hear that that's happening. So
thank you everyone for letting us know how you are feeling today. It is great to hear that folks are getting their vaccines. Wonderful news. So we'll go ahead and move forward. Sorry. My name is Jane Hammons, and I am the Teaching and Learning Engagement Librarian at The Ohio State University, and I'm going to be one of the presenters today. I did want to take just a second to let the other two presenters have a chance to introduce themselves. Kari?
So I'm Kari Weaver. I'm the Learning, Teaching, and Instructional Design Librarian at the University of Waterloo in Waterloo, Ontario. It's nobody ever.
And Alicia?
And I am Alicia Vaandering. I'm the Student Success Librarian for the URI Libraries, and I'm going to be overseeing our breakout rooms and kind of helping if anybody gets bumped out of those today.
So thank you both.
And I should jump in.
If you do have any questions or comments, please feel free to go ahead and put those in the chat throughout the session, and Kari will be monitoring that and answering questions as we go. And did I cut someone off?
You got it, Jane. I was just going to say I realized that I should have jumped in and said I'll be monitoring the chat for everybody. So I'm going to go video off and radio silent unless there's something important I need to share.
Great, thank you. And just to let everyone know real quick, if you see me looking to the side, my setup is such that my camera is over here, but the screen is over here. So I continue to look like that I'm looking off into nowhere. That's why I'm really paying attention. So, so we'll go ahead and jump into our content today. And there's really two main things that we wanted to focus on today. One, we wanted to have a chance to let you all explore the Framework Sandbox for Information Literacy. Some of you might have had a chance to look at it before. Some of you might never have really looked at it, and either's fine. We wanted to just give everyone a chance to see what's there, to see and start thinking about how they might be able to use some of the resources that are available in that sandbox. So we'll have that first part of the session is really just going to focus on exploring the sandbox a little bit. And then the second part, we're going to focus on contributing to the sandbox. So thinking about why you might want to contribute, and going through really quickly the process of contributing and giving everyone a chance, if you are interested, to go ahead and actually contribute something today, so you can see how the process works. So that's what we're going to focus on. We do hope to keep the session today to around 30 minutes, but we'll have some time for questions at the end as well. We know everyone's time is really valuable. So when we talk about the Sandbox, what are we talking about? If you haven't really used the Sandbox before, really taking a look at it, the Sandbox was created as a resource where we can share materials related to teaching the ACRL framework, and we can locate materials that we might be able to use in our instruction. So, you know, if you're teaching a lesson and you're like, I really want to go into the concept of information has value, but I don't really have a great idea of how I might want to approach it, you could go to the Sandbox and find other resources that other folks have uploaded, lesson plans, activities, tutorials, focused on that concept that could give you ideas for how you might want to approach it in your class, and resources that you could actually use in your instruction. So it really was created as this place. You know, when the framework first came out, we knew that there was going to be a lot of questions around how do we teach the framework, how do we approach this, and so the Sandbox was developed as a resource that folks could use to explore teaching the framework and to share their own materials. So if you've developed something really great, a really fun activity or tutorial that students have really loved, and you think other folks might be interested in using that as well, the framework is a place for you where you can share those materials with others. It's also a great place where you can connect with other folks who are interested in teaching the framework, you know, and you might find someone who did a really great lesson plan that you loved and you want to connect with them so that you can talk more with them about how they think about teaching the framework. So it's a great way to make those connections with other librarians who might be, you know, wrestling with the same kinds of questions that you might be in terms of how you want to approach teaching different framework concepts. What will you find when you go into the framework, into the Sandbox? You're going to find all different types of instructional materials and resources that are available. So there are activities, there are lesson plans, there are various types of learning objects, learning outcomes that folks have put together related to their framework. There's professional development material. So there really is a wide variety of different types of resources that you might find. And there's a lot of different ways that you can go about searching the Sandbox. So you can search by keyword, but you can also search by, you know, I'm really interested in just material on this specific frame, or I really only need lesson plans or tutorials. So you can search by resource type, you can search by the frame. You know, if you really want, you're at a community college and you really want material that other folks at community colleges have developed, you can search by type of institution. So there's a lot of different options that you have for what kinds of material that you can find and how you can go about searching for that material. We do think it's important to point out that you are not required to have an account to search that material. So you do have to have an account to contribute material, but if you just want to go and look and see what's there and download a resource, you can do that without having an account. So we all know that generally folks tend to learn better instead of just listening to someone, actually having a chance to jump in and do it. And so we really wanted to give you all time to go out and explore the Sandbox. And so we encourage you to go ahead and go out to the Sandbox. It's just sandbox.acrl.org. And we're going to give everyone about 5 minutes to go out and just explore, search by resource, search by topic, whatever you're interested in. And we'll let you know when there's about a minute to go and we'll start transitioning back to the webinar. So it's 4:12 now, and we'll give you about 5 minutes to go out and explore the Sandbox. Okay, I think we will come back together. No, that wasn't a lot of time to really be able to explore the sandbox, but we hope it was enough to at least give you a chance to, jump in, do a little bit of looking around and see what's there, perhaps even locate a resource that you thought looked really interesting. If you do have any questions about the process of searching, please go ahead and do put those in the chat, and Kari will be answering questions as we go through, and we'll also answer some questions at the end as well. But we would like to go ahead and move into the second part of our webinar that's really going to focus on contributing to the sandbox. And the first thing we would like to address is the question of why you should consider contributing. We know that you all have a lot of expertise, you have a lot of experience, you have really great ideas. Many of you have developed really wonderful resources for teaching the framework, and we want to see those resources. We want you to have a chance to share those resources. And I know that there was a question at the very beginning that some folks might have seen, I don't know if my materials are worthy of being uploaded. And we think all materials are worthy of being uploaded to the sandbox. So, if you have a lesson plan, if you have learning outcomes, tutorial, they don't have to be, the best material that has ever existed. We want to see what you have created. We want to see what you put together. So please go ahead and upload those, and don't feel that you have to wait for something that's worthy of being uploaded to the sandbox. Because no matter what you upload, I'm sure that there's going to be someone out there who would find that useful. So please go ahead and think about uploading materials, even if you're not quite sure, whether you think that they're worthy or not to being uploaded. This is also an opportunity where you can create a repository of your own instructional materials. We know that not everyone is in the situation where you might have an institutional repository. And so this is a place where you can go and upload your materials, create your own sort of personal repository of materials where you can point other people to your materials without having to worry about, them going through your institution's box account for something or something like that. So it's a really great way to create that and to get your materials out there and be able to share those with other folks. And you will be contributing to the profession by doing this. The framework's been out a few years now, but there's still ongoing questions about, how we approach teaching this. Folks that are looking for ideas, who maybe are just getting started with instruction, who don't really know where to go. And so you're really making a contribution to the profession by sharing your materials and letting other folks have a chance to see what you've been doing and how you've been approaching teaching the framework. The process for contributing materials, we think is not too difficult, but you do have to create that user account. You actually don't have to be an ACRL member, so you can create your account even if you're not an ACRL member. To create your account, you will have to go to the Sandbox, sandbox.acrl.org, /user/register. And really all we need from you to create your account is just very basic information, your name, your email, have a username, a password. You will have a chance to add additional materials such as your title, your institution, those kinds of things. But it's really just that basic name, email, password information that we need to create your account. If you have previously created an account and you need to reset that password, you can do that as well on that registration screen. Please be aware that the email to reset your password might come to your spam or your junk mail folder, so make sure that you check that if you don't see it come into your main account. Once you have your account created, the process of actually uploading the resources to the Sandbox is really just a few steps. What we need is the title and description. So you'll have a chance to just give a little 1 or 2 sentence blurb about what your resource is. Provide a link to that content or upload that content. And you can upload Word documents, you can upload slide decks, you can upload PDFs. So there's a variety of different types of content that you can upload. Just give us some details about that material. So, you know, what type of resource it is, what frames it's relevant to, what type of institution you think it might work for. And in all of these cases, you'll have a chance to select multiple options. So if you think it's just focused on one frame, you can select just one frame, but you can also select multiple frames, for example. Tell us what license you would like to use. So you'll have a variety of different Creative Commons licenses that you can select from. Add any co-contributors that you have, and then just make sure that you save that resource. So it really is a fairly simple, we hope, process for folks to be able to upload resources to the Sandbox. So again, we wanted to give everyone a chance to just jump in and go ahead and try to upload a resource. And we're going to give everyone 5 minutes to do this, but what we'd like to do is to break everyone out into breakout rooms. And each person should end up in a breakout room with a member of the ACRL Framework Sandbox Committee who is going to be there to monitor things, answer any questions that you might have. So I'm going to pass it over to Alicia, who's going to set up the breakout rooms.
Excellent. So our breakout rooms are all organized. So I'm just going to open them up right now, and you're going to get your invite for that.
Great. Welcome back, everyone. Again, we know that wasn't a ton of time for you to be able to go ahead and upload something, but we hope that a few folks did have time to be able to at least get started with that process, and maybe a few folks might have been able to go ahead and upload a resource. We wanted to take a minute to just get your reaction to that process of uploading a resource. So did you find that process super easy, fairly easy, a little bit complicated, maybe a little more complicated than you expected? So we have A, B, C, and D as your options. If you could just go ahead and post the letter in the chat that you thought was most representative of your experience.
We're seeing a nice mix, a lot of A's and B's and a few C's and D's, and a few of you, I think, experiencing that just maybe the particular resource you chose, you wanted to spend a little bit more time thinking about what information to share for uploading.
That's great that we're seeing some A's in there. And also, you know, if you were one of the folks that were finding it a little bit more complicated than you expected, and you have specific questions, please go ahead and add those to the chat. And we'll address the questions in just a minute. All right, so I said we are going to get to questions in a second, but we did want to be mindful of everyone's time. But we wanted to make a recommendation on what your next steps might be. So in addition to going through and thinking about your own material that you have that you might want to upload to the Sandbox, we also think it would be really fun for folks to think about planning some sort of upload-a-thon event at their institution. You know, this could be just a half hour or an hour where you get the other librarians and staff together at your institution and that have resources that you think that might be relevant, and come together and just sort of have a session similar to what we just had, where we, you know, walk it through really quickly how to upload a resource, and then just have everyone have a chance to practice uploading some of those resources. And if you are interested in this idea of hosting an upload-a-thon at your event, we do have some resources available. And we're gonna, the PowerPoint will be shared in the chat, and those links will also be shared in the chat. We created an infographic that walks through the steps of uploading resources to the Sandbox, and there's also guidelines for planning if you wanted to have an upload-a-thon event. So we encourage you to continue to upload your own resources and also think about how you might get together with other folks at your institution and upload resources as well. Okay, so we have come to the end of our planned content. And I know we had a few questions in the chat that we wanted to address. And if you have additional questions, please go ahead and add those into the chat as well, and we'll address those. And Kari, where did you want to get started?
So we had a question just before the breakout rooms, just asking us to talk a little bit more about tagging and choosing tags when contributing content.
I can jump in here a little bit. So I've used the tags for some of mine, like I was uploading one earlier today just to make sure everything was running smoothly. I hadn't forgotten anything before our webinar. And I was doing one that talked about like using like research questions and creating research questions and kind of how to narrow that. And that was just like one aspect of the slide deck that I was putting in. But I went ahead and there was a research questions tag. And so I pulled it in that way. So I found that to be a really nice way to kind of narrow in that type of content. Do any of our other contributors or committee members here have any other feedback on how they have used tags? Not everyone at once.
I'll go ahead and I'll jump in. So I'm a member of the committee, and I think when you're thinking about that particular topic, like we just talked about, just be mindful of what it is. So if it's a STEM lesson plan, you might want to put STEM in there. So that way it makes it more discoverable for someone else who is looking for that particular content.
And anyone else who wanted to jump in and add anything related to using tags? I think that was a really great explanation, just really thinking about how folks are going to be searching, if they're going to be searching key by keywords, the words that you can put in the tags that will make your materials discoverable to people. Mm-hmm. Other questions, Kari?
Yes, so we just had a question asking about, is it okay that tutorials are institution specific, especially about getting to resources in video? And my experience is this is a question that comes up quite a lot. And honestly, it's fine. A lot of people use the Sandbox as a way to get ideas for what they might adapt or do at their own institution. And also, I know with the pandemic, I'm lucky enough to have my own personally controlled and locally created repository, but at my last institution, that was not something that was ever going to happen for us. And so sometimes you just need a place to be able to share something so that you can distribute it to students or faculty at your institution. And the Sandbox can absolutely fulfill that while offering the opportunity to give other librarians some great ideas about what you're doing. So it's very flexible in that way. And that's my comment. I didn't know if anyone else had a thought to jump in.
Yeah, I'll add to that. We all have limited time, so we don't all have the time to create a new resource every time that we want to teach something. And so I've definitely used resources in my instruction that were created at other places that mentioned other places, and just tell the students, hey, ignore that last part at the end that says contact them there, and to contact us. But the rest of it is what we really want you to focus on. So. Yeah, if you're willing to have folks using your material in their instruction, knowing that it's not going to align exactly with what is at their institution, I definitely say go for it. Any other questions, Kari?
Yeah, so we were getting a few questions, a couple of different questions that I'm going to sort of lump together about the kinds of resources. So asking, are things like lesson plans and PDFs okay? That when they were looking through the Sandbox, they saw a lot of sort of videos and tutorials and so forth. And also just asking about what a blog post denotes in terms of instruction.
So I can start with that. There really is a wide variety of types of materials that are that we would like to see. So Word documents, PDFs, slide decks, videos, you know, all of those types of resources are helpful. Yeah, I would just go ahead and, you know, I know on the upload there is information about the specific file formats that are available, and I don't have that full list available, but there is a range of materials that you are able to upload. And in terms of the blog, actually, I've never used the blog link to upload anything. Is there anyone who has uploaded any sort of blog content? It might just be that we would want to search by a blog as the resource type and see what folks have uploaded there.
I personally haven't, and I haven't seen the resources in there, but I can think of the application for instruction if you are thinking about a flipped classroom and maybe a blog post has directions on how to maybe brainstorm a topic if we're talking at a very basic level to bring to class, and you think that the blog post did a great job with maybe screenshots or just the language used. You know, it's just another digital object you can use to support your instruction.
And additionally, we also accept professional development material as well. So if you have written a blog post that kind of, you know, talks about teaching or is maybe not necessarily to be used as a resource in the classroom, but for other instructors, that would be, I think, a good use of the blog post type. So you can do that as well.
Any other questions that we're seeing?
Just putting one last call out, but I believe that has addressed everything that has come up so far. So if there are any last questions for Jane, Alicia, myself, or the other members of the committee that are here with us that oversee the Sandbox.
And I've put my email in the chat in case anyone wanted to check in. It's Hammons, HAMMONS .73@osu.edu. Please feel free to go ahead and send me an email, and we will also share the questions out with the rest of the committee members. If anything comes up, or if you've had any trouble creating your account, let us know, and we'll figure out what might be going on so that everyone who wants to contribute can contribute. So I think, unless we do have any last comments or questions, we will go ahead and bring the webinar to an end. Thank you all for being here today. Please go ahead, and we are really excited to see all of the new resources that are going to be uploaded to the Sandbox.